What's going on, dope people? It's Deuce the Dope Dad, just dropping in, man. Just want to give you guys a quick video. I'm super excited that I just finished up the Little League Stock Market Playbook that I'm giving out to all the new beginners that's coming into the market and not knowing anything. The reason why I call it Little League Stock Playbook is because I put myself in the mindset of me playing football for the first time at 6 years old and how I didn't know anything about anything when it came to that particular sport. That's how I felt. I felt like a newborn when it came to the market a few years back when I invested for the first time. So if you guys get value out of this video and what I'm about to talk about today, yes, it was not clickbait. No, it was not clickbait. I'm going to be talking about the easiest way to become a millionaire in the market. I'm going to give you a super simple breakdown because that's what I'm about. So like I said, if you get value from this video, please hit that like button, share this with somebody that you also feel can get value as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. All right, y'all. So like I was saying, the title wasn't clickbait. And what I'm actually about to talk about today is something that, is really not hard to do. It's actually easy to do. And what I've come to find out is the reason why most people don't do it is because it's also easy not to do. It's kind of easy to just let time pass, and time will pass. And you'll look up 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, and you'll be in a position to where you can't work or don't want to work, but you also can't afford the basic necessities. And if you can't afford the basic necessities, you're penny pinching because in your younger years, you didn't put some funds out to the side that could take care of you on down the line. And so this video today is intended to talk to you and to give you the proper guidance and steps so that the 50, 60, 70, 65-year-old you can thank you for what you're doing today. Now, the easiest thing you can do to become a millionaire in the markets. Now, I'm talking to you as if you can find an extra $300 to $900 a month that we can put off to the side and that we can invest into an ETF. To preferably an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ. This is the low-hanging fruit, what I'm talking about here today. This is not the complex stuff that we're talking about. Now, I know the sexy thing to do right now, especially on the internet, is to pick some of these individual companies, invest in some of these individual companies, and bet the house on it. And I've seen people come out on the other side with the bag. I've seen people come out on the other side fumbling the bag and holding the bag. And what I mean by holding the bag is once things become popular on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, once things get to a price point to where it becomes popular, where everybody's talking about it, usually that's a clear sign to run away. And usually that's what whales do when it comes to individual stocks. When price gets to an all-time high, when price gets to a point where we like to call it in my generation, the price going crazy. It's going crazy. Usually whales, they're pulling out because they've been inside of that play for months. They've been inside of that play for years or, maybe even decades, depending on what we're talking about. And here you are, a newbie that's just trying to get in on the conversation. You go in and you buy it at an all-time high and boom, person like me that studies the markets, understand, the financial sheets, the different financials, when it comes to companies, understand PE ratio, understand, support and resistance, it's little stuff like that. Understand moving averages and stuff like that, understand the RSI. Those are all things that I talked about in the Little League Playbook. Y'all can go get that link in the bio. But anywho, you come in, you buying at the all-time high and we getting out of there with your money. We selling, selling a portion of our position. But I'm not even talking about that right now because, that's the hot thing to do. I want to talk about the slow, the boring, the mundane, but the highest probability for you to become a millionaire by the time it's time for you to retire over the next few years, right? Over the next, few decades, rather. You take a fund like a VOO, right? Take a symbol VOO, or you take a Fidelity Zero Total Index Fund, like, that's one of my index funds that I invest in, right? Or you take a VOO, for example. You take, it's tons of different index funds out there that tracks the S&P 500, right? You take one of those into account, and if you got an extra, I did the numbers, you got an extra $400 to $900 that you can put to the side a month annually, right? And invest into that fund. At the end of the year, you're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 on top of, if, let's just say, for example, hypothetically, one of the index funds that I invest in, one of the fidelity funds I invest in, it also pays out dividends, right? So I got my buy and hold position with that index fund. On top of that, on a quarterly basis, that fund pays out dividends, right? Just for me owning shares in that particular fund, right? So we had a position that we own that's growing over time historically, right? You want to find you a fund that's grown historically, and typically, if you could invest into a fund, and why I encourage, especially as a newbie, to invest into the S&P 500, right? A fund that tracks it, because if you go look at the history is doing that. Historically, it's gone up over time. So why wouldn't I want to put my money into something, even if you're a trader, right? Even if you're a trader, a day trader, even if you're a swing trader, right? Those guys that do that, 9 times out of 10, they day trade, but I guarantee you some of those guys, they also, like myself, have long-term positions, right? That we just let that grow, just let it do what it does. We put some money in there and we just let it rock out, right? Because one of the index funds that I'm invested in, I think that's one of the fidelity funds. I can go double check that and put it like right there, right, for you guys. It grew 17%. And I know last year I bought at a low during the coronavirus pandemic. It seemed like everybody became, professional investors. Let's just say, on an average return, let's just say we're averaging 8 to 10%, which doesn't, it may not seem like much, but let's just say you put $1,000 to your fund for the remainder of this year. Now, it may not seem like a lot of money to you initially in that first year, in that first couple of years, but you continue to grow that account. You continue to pour money into that account over an extensive period of time. By the time it's time to retire, you're sure to be a millionaire. Why don't most people do this? I have no clue. Now, if you're like I was a couple of years ago, you weren't taught this information, then I'm not gonna beat you up, because I wasn't taught this information growing up. No, that wasn't the language. This type of investing and stuff like that wasn't the way in the community I grew up in. But when you become an adult and you start to get responsibilities, and especially if you become a parent and there's other people count on you, you tend to want to seek a better way of life, right? And a better way of life, especially when it comes to finances, right? Because a lot of you think about a lot of the stress, a lot of the diseases is tied to financial issues, right? And that's a proven fact, right? A lot of the diseases and stress and stuff like that, the underlying issue, where it really started was from being in a financial position that didn't align with your health, right? And so this video today is to help alleviate some of that. Now, it's only one or two ways. Now, you may be the type of person that's looking at this and you may say, well, I don't have an extra, you talking about $400 to $900. I don't even have an extra $100 to invest into the market, to invest in any of these little funds that you're talking about. Well, if you're that type of person, then maybe me and you need to have a serious conversation about doing some cutting back. Maybe that's the conversation that me and you need to have. Maybe we need to do like me and my wife did over the past 30 days. We did the other day when we looked at all our expense. We even, for us, we're doing pretty okay. We're doing pretty well. Like, we even looked at our expenses over the past month, and we were outraged at the amount of money that we were putting out. And it seemed like it, and it's so crazy, y'all, that it just goes like, it doesn't all go at one time, but it's the $100 here, it's the $200 here on eating out, it's the $50 here. We're a family of 4, so whenever we eat out, if it's just a quick little, let's just say a quick little wing joint, we spending $50 easy. If everybody gets something, we spending $50. It's easy. Going somewhere like a nice spot, it's a lot more than that. You do that a few times, a little bit more. For us, it was a little bit more than a few times. It was, a little bit more than it's maybe a couple mortgages. We even had to, catch ourselves, because we started to get beside ourselves. The point is, it doesn't matter where you are, what position you are financially. There's wiggle room, and there's room for you to cut back on something, right? And so my advice to you would be be quiet. Go downstairs. Number one is really, learning how to live really within your means. And if you can, learn to live below your means, actually. Now, that segues me into number two. Number two is to grow your income. Now, with the internet, with the information age that we live in, it's never been easier to find ways to grow your income. And so my suggestion would be look at maybe a network marketing company. Look at maybe start a course. Look at maybe teaching some classes on something that you love, something that you like to do, something that you're good at, right? Look at flipping things, creating your clothing brand, or look at flipping things on eBay. Like, it's so many different types of ways. You just got to get creative, and you just have to want to do better in order to get better, right? Growing your income, that's the other way. Now, that's how you can go and you can create that additional $400 to $900 that you could use to invest into the markets every single month to ensure your financial freedom or your financial security. So in summary, you got two options, baby. You cut back on some of those expenses, or two, you can grow your income. I would suggest you do both, right? Especially if you're at a point now to where you're trying to figure out how you're going to put money in the market. I would take a season in your life. I suggest taking a season in your life and having that stacking season. I talked about that in one of my previous videos. Having a stacking season before you start your investing season, right? So you have money 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, or even a year, worth of expenses put off to the side so that if anything happens, you're good to go. Then at that point, start investing into the market. And at that point, you should be have created some discipline for yourself as well, created some discipline as far as putting money back and putting money off to the side. So it'll make it that much easier for you when it's time to start investing into the market. I just gave y'all, some game right there. As a newbie, start with the fund. Find you a fund that track one of those indexes. And I promise you, come find me when you're 50. Come find me when you're 60. Come find me when you're 70 years old. And it's time to start chilling, playing with them grandkids, playing with them great grandkids. And hopefully you ain't stressed out. Hopefully you're in perfect health and you can still move around and do some things with your family. And you can tell the story on what you did and, possibly pass those tips and those tricks and those hacks down to the next generation. I promise they're gonna thank you for it. That concludes this video, y'all. If you haven't already, like I said, click the link in the bio. If you're a new investor and you want to learn the stock market game, but you want it in a simplified way, I try my best to do that. A lot of my friends, a lot of my family have been asking me questions about the market over the past few years. Asked me to do this, and I decided to just go ahead and just do it, and I'm offering that to you guys as well. So if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more content like this, more fun videos, more family videos, and more financial videos from myself. So I see you guys on the next video. It's Deuce the Dope Dad. I'm signing out. Peace.